Good afternoon, everybody. I hope your Tuesday's doing well. This is Tuesday, right, Matt?
Yes, it's Tuesday. Yes, sir. You got it.
Tuesday. All right. So sometimes all the days just roll together. It's just like this never-ending cycle. I appreciate you guys taking an hour out of your day today to join Matt and I. We're on opposite ends of the country. I'm here in Florida. Matt's out in California. But we're really, really passionate, and we're really passionate about helping people grow. And it shows something to me that we have people coming in to spend an hour. I know this is the holidays. This is the time where people are tending to slow down. So kudos to you for taking an hour out of your day to spend some time with us to really try to set up 2024. Our goal is to help you make 2024 your best year yet. One brief housekeeping note before we dive into this is there's a questions panel. If you have questions throughout this, please drop them in. We're going to have a question and answer session towards the end. I'll keep an eye you'll see me looking off to the side. I'll be looking at this periodically. There's a question that could add additional conjecture as it comes in. We'll address it right away, but we do have a section at the end set up for Q&A. So if we don't get any questions, we may finish this up a little early and release you back to your lives. So I'll kind of take a second and introduce myself. I'm Andrew Cady. I run the Epic Mortgage team here at UMortgage. I joined the industry back in 2015, and within 3 years of being in the industry, I made top 1% originators in the country. I ran $100 million a year in production for multiple years in a row. Now built out the Epic Mortgage team that does in excess of $100 million multiple years in a row. So for me, this is what I live and I breathe. My email address is there on screen if you ever need to contact me for anything. It says Jacksonville, Florida. That is where home base originally is. However, the Epic Mortgage team really spans the state. We're in South Florida, Central Florida, Northeast Florida, and Northwest Florida. So on to Matt. Matt, tell us about you.
Sure. I'm excited to be here with you as well. I'm passionate as well about not just mortgage and real estate, but also coaching fellow loan originators. I think a lot of this translates to real estate agents as well. And I love talking about getting better every day. I'm the host of the Get Better Every Day podcast. I'm still a producing branch manager. I ran my production from my very first year in 2014, about 5 million in production up to 100 million plus in 2021. And so I know a thing or two about loans because I've done a loan or two. And I think I also know a thing or two about how to be intentional, how to grow a business. So that's what we're going to talk about today, because these two lanes, mortgage and real estate, they run parallel. There's a lot of things that I think me and you have done in our business, Andrew, that should be helpful today. So I'm looking forward at jumping in and adding some real value today.
Yeah, 100%. So where we want to start today is we want to start talking about mindset. So if you're a super tactical person, if you're like, give me like things I can do, please stick around. We're only going to spend maybe the first 20 minutes or so talking about mindset, and then we're going to go into some real tactical items that you can implement today to start working on 2024. But for me, everything begins with mindset. We all live in an industry, in a society right now where we're fed negativity on every single level. Everywhere we turn, it's negative. We know it as, the clickbait news articles we see. Positivity doesn't sell anymore. And so if we're not careful in real estate or mortgage, we're going to find ourselves in a situation where we fall into this trap of people speaking negativity around us and it impacting our mindset. And so really, I want to start and really talk about starting right and ending right. How you start your day is how you end your day. So for me, it's about start right, end right, because that's really where everything begins. For me, I'm a big get up early in the morning and get my mindset going. For me, it's all about how you start your day. I will preface this and say, starting your day isn't about a time. There are plenty of people probably on this call that start their day at, call it, 9 o'clock in the morning because they put their kids to bed and work till 2 a.m. I'm not saying do what I do, but I'm saying when you start your day, we got to start our days with the right mindset. So for me, I'm about a 4:15 to 4:30 a.m. wake up in the morning guy. And the first 60 to 90 minutes of my day is really spent focusing on reflection. I want to spend 60 to 90 minutes reflecting on what yesterday was. What were my wins? What were my losses? How can I take the wins I had yesterday and translate those into something new? Now, think about this. If we had wins or losses yesterday, that's an outcome. And outcomes are simply a collection of actions or inactions. So if I can take time and truly reflect on what went well and what didn't go well yesterday, and I can begin to game plan on it, we can begin to build a formula for success going forward. Matt, what does your day look like when you start your days out?
Right. Yeah. I've got really intentional days. And I think that's a takeaway for folks on this call is no matter how you do it, like you said, wake up at 4:30, wake up at 8, that doesn't matter. But what's more important is how you structure your days and that you're intentional about it. So I'm intentional that 6:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. is time with the boys. We're spending time together. We're doing breakfast together. We're packing lunches, getting them off to school. That's their time. The rest of the day, from 8 to 5, call it, I'm intentional about what I'm doing in my business to drive it forward. And a quote that I love from Matt Ishbia, knowledge drives confidence, confidence drives success. Part of my day is dedicated to getting better every day, to becoming knowledgeable. And when I'm knowledgeable, that drives confidence, confidence drives success. But you can't pop into my office at 11:07 and just find me hanging out by the water cooler, thinking of things to do, right? Like I've got 11 to 11:30, 11:30 to 12, 12 to 1, I'm on this call. Then I'm on a team call from 1 to 2. Then I've got a Zoom with a client. Like it's intentional, right? And so my day going into the day, I know what I'm getting into, right? Because it's already been planned. So that's something that, as a takeaway as well, is take a moment in 2024 and just give that a try. Plan your day and see what happens. Play a little offense. Have a little bit of intentionality around planning your day.
100%. Because if we don't plan our day in the real estate industry, mortgage industry, we can find ourselves extremely busy. Like I've said it before. I was speaking on stage and I brought this up, and it's so true. Like we in real estate and mortgage, we arguably work in one of the most reactive businesses that's out there. We don't get to set a lot of our schedules. Like we don't get to set when a real estate agent can call us and give us a referral. Real estate agents, you don't get to set when you get that new call from someone who wants to list their home, or when they want you to come by their home for a listing appointment. We don't get to set when the appraiser goes out. We don't get to set if that appraisal comes in low, when that happens, and how our reactions are to it. And so if we don't find ourselves being extremely intentional on a day-to-day basis, we can find ourselves at the end of the day feeling like we were super busy, but we spent our entire day being reactionary. And I love what you said about intentional, because it really drives to the next point of intentional positivity. It's what I started off with. There's so much negative in this world, and we have to be super, super intentional about being excited again about this business. This is a mundane business. It really, really is. It is rinse and repeat. It's like the old back of the shampoo bottle. You wake up every morning and you complete the same steps, whether it's cold calling, whether it's meeting with a client, whether it's reviewing an appraisal. It's the same mundane steps all over. So we have to find a way to intentionally get back to finding the positivity of our jobs. Right now, I see it everywhere. It's negative Nancy. Sure, the last 3 weeks, people are starting to get a little positive because the market's come back. But guess what? The Federal Reserve is still in control. And if we know one thing about the Federal Reserve, they're unpredictable. So my question to everyone on this call is, if the Federal Reserve decides to hike rates again in January, where does the positivity level go? I know for me, I know for Matt, we haven't lost our positivity in the face of what we dealt with this year. Like we expected interest rates in the beginning of the year to top out somewhere around 5.5%. Nah, we got to see 8%. And it's like, okay, so we have to find positivity, right, Matt? There's always a silver lining.
100% guarantee, right? And so that's where these two things collide. You've got intention, but you've also got intentional positivity. positivity. English is a hard language. Intentional positivity, right? And what I think we want to stress to our real estate partners is like, get excited. And we had the conversation yesterday, and I'll let you talk about, you know, the net worth of a homeowner versus a renter, but you're helping people create life-changing opportunity through real estate. This is something that, you know, we're blessed to be in this business. And so my challenge to real estate agents is think through your database and think of a time where you just felt proud to be a real estate agent. You felt proud of the job you did. You helped a veteran get into their first home. You helped a first-time home buyer who never thought they were going to buy, right? And capture that feeling and bring that feeling of excitement to every single transaction you do in 2024. I promise it'll make a difference. And you know, the difference you're making in lives, I'm gonna let you share the stats, Andrew, because I know you've got them. Helping people into home ownership is a big deal. It changes their financial future.
Yes, it 100% does. And so you say, what is there to be excited about? You know, I work in a mundane job. I do the same thing over and over again. And I think we as professionals can't lose sight of the fact that we do this every day, but people go through this once every 7 to 10 years. And I saw the updated stats came out, and it's really, really awesome because they came out last month. And these stats don't get updated very often. Last stats on this came out somewhere around the end of 2021. So all the appreciation gains we've seen have made these stats unbelievable. The average net worth, like net worth, which is net worth is when you take away all, if you paid off every debt you have, how much money do you have left? The average net worth of a renter is $10,400. That is just the net worth of someone who is a perpetual lifelong renter. The updated net worth of a homeowner is $396,200. And you think, now if that's what's being created on the wealth side, and then you can assist that family in buying their first home, their second home, their third home, investment properties, multiple investment properties, duplexes, quadplexes, you are not only changing the financial future for that home buyer, but you're changing it for their children, potentially for their grandchildren. You're changing generations deep. So what is there to get excited about? The industry is not just a mundane thing. We are actually truly helping people build substantial wealth. Like that is 40 times the net worth of a renter.
Yeah, that's something, you know, that shouldn't be taken lightly, and feel proud about it, right? As a real estate agent, you know, you can talk about that, you can share stories, and there should be a why and a reason besides, you know, I want to make enough money to pay my mortgage and buy groceries. You know, you create life-changing opportunity for your clients. If you do your job well, you can create life-changing opportunity for yourself, you know, because you're going to make more and earn more as you do more. So it's really amazing. And I'll let you roll into, you know, the relationships we create, Andrew, because, you know, you talk about, you know, as a real estate professional, somebody has to like and trust you at a really high level. And I always talk about it for anybody starting out new, because business doesn't start off fast, because you have to build trust, you have to build reputation. And so the highest level real estate agents understand that you have to create relationships, because you're not selling a smoothie that costs $5.99. You are asking somebody to entrust in you the largest and most important financial transaction that they will ever do, right? And so relationships, not transaction, a core value of UMortgage. I'm gonna let you get into relationships created, because I know that's something that's important to you, Andrew.
Yeah, it hits so close to home to me, because if you're a real estate agent, think about it this way. You know, you have a lot of people that you're helping buy a home, and they're moving to your city. Sure, there's people that move, they're a move up buyer within the same city, but there's also an equal amount that are moving in from somewhere else. And the very first connection they're going to have in your community, in the community you're selling in, is you, the real estate agent. So put yourself in their shoes. They're moving from Texas to California. Matt's helping them with their mortgage. They know very few people, if anyone, but they're moving in there. They got a job. They have this opportunity out there. The ability to create relationships. Everyone who moves into a brand new neighborhood, they're seeking relationships. And you as the real estate professional, you are the very first person that has the ability to create that relationship with them. You're the first point of contact in a brand new community. And so rather than looking at this as a transactional, I'm going to help them buy a home. No, I'm going to create friends out of this, because if you can actually turn a transaction into a friendship, you're going to find that it creates referrals. And that's where we talk about really our next point of making it personal. This is all really about selling for relationships, and not just selling for the sake of selling. You know, Matt, what's your thoughts on making it personal?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a ton of stories that come to mind, but I think we get lost sometimes. You know, you study and you're a high level real estate professional, you know all the stats. Or on the mortgage side, you know all the mortgage guidelines, you've got all the products. And you forget that this is a personal thing. Somebody buying a primary residence to send their kids to school in the neighborhood they want to send them to have a home to call their own where they don't get a 60-day notice and they can paint the walls whatever color they want. Like, this is personal stuff. They're not looking and saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe the 10-year treasury today is at this. Or I hope my real estate agent knows the last 5 years of home price appreciation. Quite honestly, most of our job has nothing to do with that. Most of our job is to get to know people, be interested, not interesting, right? And I'll say that again, write that down if you're watching and you're a real estate agent. Go into your consults or whatever you call your appointments and be intentional about being interested in the person that you're working with, not interesting. Not like, you know, I've appeared on channel 13 6 times and here's awards and, you know, I'm Keller Williams #1 agent for 5 years. That might be great. And that might be part of the presentation, but get interested. And I know you do this, Andrew, talking to them about their kids and the sports they play and what their interests are, what their game plan is. I love, you know, not just that in the intro, but with past clients. What real estate goals do you have over the next 3 to 5 years? What are you guys' plans after, you know, Sally graduates high school? I know that she's, you know, a volleyball star and she's graduating and she's got a full ride to LSU. Whatever that stuff is, if you don't do that and you're not making it personal, it's not too late to start. But I think that most real estate agents I know who have grown a large business do this at a high level, and they know that this is a people business. It's not a metrics and all the other things that have their place and are important, but not it.
No, you're dead right. Like think about it this way: how many if you sold a client a home, are they going to sit back 3 years from now and remember that Johnny the realtor has been in the business for 24 years before he sold them their home? Because I hear that pitch all the time in the real estate. You know, I have 24 years of experience. But what if you ask them in the initial consult if they have any pets? And they say, oh, I got a dog. What's your dog's name? Oh, my dog's name is Fido. And what if you called them a month after closing and said, hey, just wanted to check in. How's the house? How does Fido like the backyard? What are they going to remember 3 years from now? Are they going to remember a stat about your career because you were interesting? Or are they going to remember that you were interested in them? Are they going to remember the fact that when you call them because you follow them on social media and say, hey, I just want to congratulate you on Sally, you know, getting that full ride scholarship to LSU. That's super amazing. My daughter also played volleyball. She didn't get the scholarship, but I'm so happy for you guys. Those are the things that are going to be remembered. Those are the things that make it personal. I see it every day. People get busy. They get transaction minded. It goes transaction to transaction to transaction. And the reality is this is not about you. This is about the client. And we got to think about that. This is not about us. When we work on the mortgage side, we are simply servants to help people go through this. I've said it and I'll say it again. We deal with these things every single day. Appraisal orders, you know, on the real estate side, whether it's a buyer's consultation or a listing consultation, or it's the review of an appraisal. You as a real estate professional do this 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 times a year, and it can tend to get mundane, but understand that the client you're speaking with, there's a very high probability, 41% of home purchases are first-time home buyers. These people have never been through it. They don't understand. You may be mundane about this, but this is exciting to them. For me, my passion for a very, very, very long time since I got into the industry, one of my call it, my credo in the industry, and I would welcome anybody to copy it, adopt it, and rip it off and duplicate it. Is my entire mission in what I do is I aim to make the closing room the celebration it should be, and not the sigh of relief that so many people find it to be. I find so many clients, and we hear the conversations all the time, are like, oh, we were just so happy to finally get to closing. That means that the transaction was a transaction. It wasn't an experience. There was no experience created. Let's face it, we're in an experience society. Everyone wants experiences now. People are sick and tired of the fake. We're in a filter society. Everybody's about, something that's not. But if you can create real estate to be an experience for your client, whether it's champagne and flowers. I heard one story. It wasn't something I did, but there was a high-end client who was purchasing a home, and the real estate agent sent 2 Tiffany champagne glasses and 10 balloons to the buyer's office. The buyer was a doctor, to the doctor's office. Well, guess what happened? Every single person in that office ended up using the same real estate agent to buy and sell their future properties, because no one had ever seen anything like it done before. They got Tiffany champagne glasses for closing delivered to the office with balloons. That was a real estate agent that was focused on creating an experience, and not just, hey, this is another transaction, let me get my commission.
100%. And that's the great news about it is not only are you making your job or your career a more fulfilling and exciting one, because it should be exciting for you, for the client, for everybody. If I looked at it and I said, okay, this is loan number 1376 after year 10, it wouldn't be that exciting, right? But this is Tom and this is Susie, and they're 2 kids, 1 and 3. How exciting is that? And I'm going to try to have the same level of excitement for them, because truth be told, I am excited for them. I know they wanted to move to Folsom. I know they're super excited about the schools and the experiences, everything they're going to do in Folsom. So the good news for you is you're more fulfilled, and secondary, you're going to get more referrals. That experience that you create, if you are intentional about creating wow moments where clients go, wow, that was cool, Andrew asked that. That was cool. Matt showed up at the closing and brought that small gift, whatever it is, right? Creating a wow moment not only is fulfilling and gratifying and makes it more exciting for the buyers and for everybody, but you get more business because of it. If every closed deal on the real estate side is not creating 2 or 3 more, you're probably not doing a good enough job creating these wow moments. So it's important, not only for your clients and the experience, but for the health of your business.
I couldn't agree more. And it takes us all the way back to the beginning, like mindset. If you're not excited, if you can't find that muster in the morning to get back excited about this business, and I get it, 2023 was not an easy year in the industry. It has the ability to burn people out. We've seen the attrition rate in loan originators and real estate agents dropping their licenses. 2023 was the year that burned a lot of people really, really hard. There was a lot of effort put in with not a lot of results. But if you can't get excited about the transaction, your client never will. And so I think we've handled the mindset of this. We're 25 minutes in. Let's dive into some tacticals. I want to talk about social media. So,
all right,
tactical tips. Let's dive straight into social media, because I know myself, Matt, we're very big on the social media game, as are most real estate agents. I have on my personal Facebook page, I have about 4,000 real estate agents as friends. And then I have about another 8,000 real estate agents that follow my Facebook page. And I see the content that is posted. And I'm going to say it, and I'm going to beat this dead horse so many times. Social media should be media. Nobody cares about a text post that you closed another transaction, or you sold a property at full sales price within 4 days. That's not generating any business. Matt, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I got a couple of things to say, and as somebody who I haven't done it perfect, but I think that I can hang my hat on the fact that I've closed hundreds of millions in loans. through social media, right? Through a YouTube channel. The one piece of advice, if I could only give one, is authenticity. And to your point, you want it to be media, authentic media. And there's so many different ways to do it. There's a realtor in Fresno, California, Andrew. If you haven't checked him out, I'm going to send you links. He's the rapping realtor. And this guy like does remakes of rap songs talking about real estate. I want to do business with this guy just because I'm like, this dude is cool and he's having fun, right? There's other real estate agents that everything they do is about dogs and places to take dogs and things they do with their dogs. And you know it's them. They're passionate about it and it shows and they're authentic. And that's what I think a lot of people are missing is, sure, a lot of my content is educational. And a lot of the stuff that I do has a component of it where I'm teaching people something, but I'm teaching it to them authentically me, and I'm bringing it in multiple different ways. On TikTok, I'm funny. On YouTube, I'm maybe a little bit different tone, but on all social media, it's me being me, and people reach out to me and they go, yeah, just like the person that I saw online. Yeah, that's really me. And so realtors in 2024, think about you and your brand and try to be less of what somebody else is doing and you think might be successful, and more of, hey, this is how I'm going to show up and this is me. And the people that are part of my tribe and vibe with me are going to raise their hand and say, you know what, Sally has similar tastes and interests and talks like me and seems like my vibe. I'm going to call her to come over and do a presentation and maybe list my house for sale.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, for me, it's about education, entertainment, edutainment, call it, but authenticity. We live in a filter society, and people are sick of it. Like, people are sick and tired of AI, of generated this, of generated that, of these filters that make you look like someone you're totally not. People crave authenticity, but people are also craving an entertainment value in business. I mean, think about it this way. I saw this comparison and it really blew my mind. And I would challenge anyone, find a local air conditioning company near you that has a Facebook page and go scroll their business Facebook page and look at their posts. And it's like, we have a 10-year warranty on Train air conditioners. We have this. And then go look at Red Bull's Facebook page. You're not going to find a can of Red Bull on any Red Bull post that they do. It's an entertainment channel. They know and understand that people want to see entertainment with their brand interjected into entertainment. So how do you do that as a real estate agent? And I've said it so many times, and I'll say it. If I ever decided to go into the real estate business, I know exactly what I would do. And for me, I get 300,000 views a month on my Facebook page. And that is super intentional targeting of the message I drive home. If I wanted to go into the real estate field, the local market better be afraid, because what I would do is I would immediately become the expert of my local area. And what do you mean by the expert? Am I going to give the real estate stats on video every single day? No, nobody cares. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to Amavita coffee shop and I'm going to interview the manager and ask them about their business, how long they've been around. And if you search Rosemary Beach, Florida, I live down on 30A area. If you're familiar, most people know where 30A is. It's the most beautiful beaches in the world. I'm going to do videos at the local Chiringo. I'm going to go to Red Bar. I'm going to go to all these places where people are going to Google what is interesting on 30A. And they're going to find me. And I'm going to interject real estate throughout these videos, but I'm not using these videos to sell. I'm using these videos to create entertainment and education for people. So if you can truly become the expert of your community, some people live in a big community, some people live in a small community. Either one, you can become the expert and truly start to drive education home. That is where you're going to get traction. Become the local expert, and people will naturally gravitate towards it. Think about Ryan Serhant. I mean, think about this guy. If he didn't have a TikTok and YouTube channel and Instagram and Facebook and he's on every platform, but if he didn't have that, he would only be known to local real estate agents in New York City. he wouldn't be what he is. You wouldn't have Sirhunt Miami, Sirhunt Palm Beach, Sirhunt Las Vegas, Sirhunt Los Angeles. You wouldn't have what he's built, but he's built it through authenticity and through entertainment around the real estate world. And you say, well, I'm not Ryan. Well, what's stopping you? He breathes the same air you breathe. He bleeds the same blood you bleed. At the end of the day, it's open for the grabbings. For any community you're in, you should have the ability to dive in and truly create a local expert feel. Matt, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too. The pushback I get because Matt the Mortgage Guy on YouTube, all the stuff I'm doing across socials, people like, well, in loans you can go nationwide. It's different. In real estate, I'm local and I'm not going to do stuff that's broadcast across social. I promise you, there's real estate agents that I know 100% of their business derives from social media, and I'll give you the quick hack. I'll give you the quick thing you do. You talk about the town that you're selling, you're living in, you're the expert in, and you say it 50 times, 60 times. I'm not going to name the town or the real estate agent, but I know somebody who does that at a high level. Google, all these, machines around us are so smart. Guess who they're going to put that in front of when you start talking about relocating to Sacramento, California? You start talking about the best neighborhoods in Sacramento, outside of Sacramento, this new build in Sacramento. It's going to be shown to people who are interested in real estate in Sacramento. And the proof is in the pudding. So you can be a non-believer and say, no, it's not going to work for me. Or you can say there's real estate agents that are closing tens of millions per year just on this, social media. It's out there. And at the very least, Andrew, I think the last thing I'll say about social media, because it's not for everybody and everybody doesn't want it to be 70% of their business. At the very least, we're going in 2024. You have to have a social presence. If I'm looking up your name and then the word realtor behind it, and I can't find anything online, and we're operating in 2024, what it tells me as a consumer is that you don't have a business, right? If you haven't taken the time to set up anything that tells me anything about you or your business on the World Wide Web, and we're in 2024, I'm sorry, but that no matter who you get referred to, right? Like your neighbor refers their cousin, and their cousin can't find Mary Smith Realtor, Washington, or wherever you're at. Like that's just, it's going to hurt you, right? And so I could go on for 2 hours on social media, but I'll cut it there because I know we got some cool numbers to talk about.
Yeah, I last thing I'll say on social, and I could talk for days on social because I've built, I would say when I was doing 100 million before I built the team out, personal production, I would say 50% of my business was coming off of social media. And you're dead right, but let's also not forget that Google, the biggest and best search engine, the most widely used search engine by far in the world, owns YouTube. And you're dead right. If you're selling, if I'm selling Rosemary Beach, Florida, and you mention Rosemary Beach, Florida one time in your video, you're not helping yourself. But if you can drop that name 10, 15, 20 times in a 6-minute video, the algorithm understands and it begins to put that video in front of the people that are searching real estate Rosemary Beach. And so don't be naive about it. Get out there, and you may not be comfortable on video, but guess what? I wasn't either. My first video I did was 7 years ago. And I go back and I look at it, and it's so unbelievably sad. But the only way you get comfortable is to be uncomfortable. Like imagine if you turn the temperature down in your home today to 64 degrees. You're like, that's going to be my new temperature. You're going to absolutely fail at it because it's going to be too cold. You're going to change it. But if you change that temperature down 1 degree until that uncomfortable became comfortable, and you repeat that, a year from now, you'd be at 64 degrees in your home and it'd feel just fine. So every day, push yourself a little bit outside your comfort zone. Get out there. The reality is you may not like yourself on video, but what you are on video is exactly what people see you as already. So just go out and do it. So enough on social media. Let's talk about knowing your numbers. Because dude, I'm a number guy by heart. Tracking numbers is something that I have always it's always been really near and dear to me. And I think for anyone who really has a business, you begin to know your numbers. And there's something we're going to talk about it in a second called sales math. Not there yet, but I want to talk just briefly because before I knew this equation even existed, This is how I ran my business. And I didn't have like some fancy CRM. When I got into the mortgage industry, I created a Google Sheets, which is basically an online Excel spreadsheet. And I began to track every single metric I could. And you could ask me, hey, in 2018, what was your conversion rate from application to closing? And I knew off the top of my head, it was 27.2% of my applications walked into a closing room. And I knew every single metric of my business. And that is the same reality. I mean, if you're a real estate agent, you're essentially an entrepreneur. And if you're an entrepreneur, you don't have a boss. But just because you don't have a boss doesn't mean you don't need a boss. And I'm not saying that you got to go find some life coach, this or that, but how many NBA teams have ever made it to a finals without a coach? And this isn't a pitch for real estate coaches. How many football teams make it to the Super Bowl and they didn't have a coach all season? And if you're a real estate agent, you're that entrepreneur, you're a solo agent, you got to be your own coach. You got to be the person that understands the playbook and understands that, hey, I got to make these activities to make these sales, and I've got to hold myself accountable to it. So let's dive into sales math.
Before we do it, Andrew, I just want to say to real estate agents watching, like, this might be the part where you have the aha moment. If I were to guess, where is something going to change in your mindset, in your business that's going to help you in 2024? It's this. And without knowing who's on the call, without knowing who's going to watch on replay, I can tell you 80 to 90% of realtors do not track their numbers. If you take just a tidbit of what we talk about over the next 5 to 10 minutes and apply it in 2024, I promise you will see results. You can't not see results. So jump into it.
100%. So this is based on law of averages and dependent events. And this is not real estate specific, but this is sales industry specific. And this is a average over the course of 30 years of data. And this is, again, it's not just real estate, it's mortgage, it's car sales, it's every massive sales industry out there has the same exact algorithm. And in your metric, in your market you're in, whether if you're super rural, it might be a little bit different, but if you track it, you'll begin to understand it. So I want to start walking through some numbers on this. So here in Florida, and national average real estate commissions per closed transactions about $6,000. Where Matt's out in California, probably double that, but neither here nor there. But for this number, we're going to use $6,000. That's the average commission nationwide that a real estate agent makes on a closing. That is your number one. And to really dive into this, the numbers you need to just know, understand, and memorize is 1, 1.5, 2.5, 5, and 25. And I know those numbers, I dream about those numbers, I breathe and eat those numbers because this is all dependent events. So to get to one closing, a lot of people believe you need one executed contract, but that's not actually true. On average, it takes 1.5 executed contracts in escrow to get to that one closing. And you're like, well, I don't have that high of a percentage of my business fall out. That's wonderful. But if we actually start to dial the numbers in on a long-term average, we're not talking about loans that are just denied by underwriting. We're talking about people that cancel over inspections. We're talking about appraisals that come in low. There's all sorts of metrics, buyers just getting cold feet. So on average, it takes 1.5 in escrow moments, contracts signed to get a closing. So if your closing is worth $6,000, that means that every single time you ink a contract, that contract is worth $4,000 to you. Every time it's signed, whether it closes or not, doesn't matter. Ink on paper is $4,000. And again, this is based on $6,000. If you're in a market that's $12,000 average commission, double these numbers up. Make these numbers work for you. Well, what do you need to get that one closing? It's applications, but there's also meetings. This would be a buyer's consultation, a listing consultation, whatever you're doing on that side. On average, it takes 2.5 face-to-face consultation meetings to get that one closing. So at 2.5 meetings, now you're looking at a value on when you sit down with call it a listing, and you're going to sit down and give that listing presentation for that listing. Now you're looking at $2,400 for simply walking in the door. Because $2,400 times 2.5 is $6,000. So just walking in the door, you may not get that listing. And this is where the mindset shift happens away from, man, I've only got one closing. No, I'm doing the daily activities that equal the dollars in the end. And this is where the mindset shift begins to play out. Well, to get those meetings, you have to go back to leads. On the average, a closing takes 5 leads. And what's a lead? Well, a lead is not just, hey, Johnny said he might want to buy a home. That's not a lead. A lead is someone who can buy a home, is qualified to buy, is willing to buy a home in a reasonable time frame. Think about that. Like, jot that down. They qualify, they're willing to, and in a reasonable time frame. That is a true lead. Out of 5 leads that you now have in your pipeline, one of those will go to a closing table. So every 5 leads you get a closing. That means that lead is worth $1,200 to you. Now, $1,200 just for getting that lead. But this is where the math gets really, really fun. We call it talk tos. To me, it's a meaningful conversation. It takes 25 meaningful conversations about real estate to get that one closing. A meaningful conversation is not just, hey, Johnny, if you ever want to sell a house, let me know. No, we're actually talking the details about real estate. We're talking about what markets they're looking at. We're talking about the things we talked about before, about their families and about why they're moving and why they're interested in moving, and beginning to understand those talk tos. Every time you have a meaningful conversation with a prospective buyer or seller, that's worth $240 to you. And I would ask the question, and this is where the mindset shift comes in. If someone came to you and said, hey, I'm going to give you a list of people to call, and I just want you to sit down 8 hours a day, and I want you to call and have meaningful conversations about real estate all day, every day. And every single conversation you have, I'm going to pay you $20 for every meaningful conversation. Most people would sit there and think, man, conversation probably lasts 15 minutes. I could probably have 6 conversations in an hour. I can make $120 an hour, like 8 hours a day. Like I could make bank having meaningful conversations all day. But what they fail to realize is that they're leaving $220 on the table for every single meaningful conversation they have. This is why virtual assistants exist in real estate. This is why people have dialers that just call and soften people up, because it's worth paying $20 for every single conversation they have, because the team owner at that point, or the real estate agent who's hired that virtual assistant, understands that the real value of that meaningful conversation is $240, not the $20 they're paying the virtual assistant. And that is the mindset shift that can happen, is stop looking at that level 1 or the level 1.5 or even the level 2.5. And if you begin to focus all day, every day on that level 5 and level 25 and track your numbers, because I would venture to say, and I'm guilty of this as well, we get busy in this industry. And at the end of the day, if you pause and you look back on your day, and if you're really honest with yourself, how many true meaningful conversations did you have with people that may buy or sell real estate? It's probably equal to about where your production's at. And the only way to change it is to change that very bottom line. That bottom line, it's all dependent events. If you increase the bottom line, the top line increases. And that's just how the math works. Think about it. There's 52 weeks in a year. If you just had 25 meaningful conversations a week and you held yourself to that metric, sure, there'll be a ramp up time. The initial 4 weeks may not turn into anything until month 2 or month 3. Probably end your year in 40, 45, 50 transactions closed, just by staying consistent to that very bottom line of meaningful conversations and talk tos. Matt, what's your thoughts?
Man, I'm so excited about this because I've seen the change. I've seen it in students, because I'm a coach in Level Up Coaching, internal coaching we have here. And most people on this call, when you said real estate is busy, I could hear it in all their voices, like, I'm busy. You're busy, but are you productive? And here's where numbers don't lie. I'm a big fan of numbers because they don't lie. So I challenge people on this call, try it for a week or two. And if you do nothing else, log how many meaningful conversations you had. Because if you just say, I want to do 50 transactions in 2024, you can put up the number 50, you can have a picture of your dream house, you can have the car you want to buy. You know, we want to go to Bali as a family. That's all sweet and nice. Are you doing the activities required to actually get to that goal? And we've got a rather simplified version here. You know, I've got break breads and events and face-to-faces and great phone calls, online posts, thank you cards. I've got a bunch of stuff that we can track, and I could tell you if I earn 43 points, that's going to lead to one closing. Okay, I want to have 200 closings. So I've got to multiply 200 times 43. How am I going to get 8,600 activity points in 2024? It's not going to happen by accident. It's going to be intentional. And I'm going to go out there and plan to do it. But to start this on the basic level and to not overwhelm people, just track your meaningful conversations. And when you talk about those meaningful conversations around real estate, like those are going to turn into a true lead, like Andrew talked about, somebody who's willing to buy, able to buy, reasonable time period. Here's another kind of thing to ask yourself to get your mind in the right mindset around this. If I told you, Mr. and Mrs. Real Estate, send me a Venmo request for $1,200, and you know I'm able to, I'm willing, and in a reasonable time frame, I might send you $1,200. How much would you follow up? My guess is that you would probably spam me until I said, F off, I was just kidding, or something to that magnitude, right? But we get a lead and you're in a conversation at an alumni tailgate party. And somebody you went to high school with says, you know what, like this new job is going great. I've always wanted to have an investment in real estate. We've got our primary, but like I'd love to buy a duplex, and I ran the numbers. I'm qualified. I just don't know if it makes sense to do it in Sacramento. If you're a real estate agent and you don't follow up with that client the same way you'd follow up with a $1,200 Venmo request, you're literally lighting $1,200 on fire. That is what it's worth.
Agreed. I couldn't agree more. And just so you guys know, on the mortgage side, these numbers are about cut in half. It's about $3,000 per closing, but the metrics all dialed down. And I'll just give you a very personal thing for me. I have 4 children. I have an amazing spouse. I have a very busy life with 4 kids and 5 pets in the house right now. Like I'm nuts all the time. And I am very big on having like my personal time, like where, hey, you know, if I'm having dinner with my family, you know, from 7 a.m. until 8 a.m. is time to get my kids ready to go to school. I'm very big and I believe in boundaries. However, when I started to dial in the sales math and I realized that if I was sitting on the couch on a Saturday afternoon and a football game was on and my phone rang, if I could pick that phone up and just have a meaningful conversation, that was $120 in my pocket. It made it really, really easy to pause my football game for 10 minutes, have a meaningful conversation, make $120, and then just fast forward the next 2 commercial breaks. And that mindset shift just starts to change of that phone call is your gold. That opportunity to have that conversation is your gold. You may be like, well, I don't want to spend an extra 10 minutes talking to Johnny in the supermarket, but Johnny wants to talk about real estate. That's $240 in your pocket. And this is where it goes into accountability matters. And we're almost done here. This is our last slide. So if you have questions, please drop them in. I don't see any questions as of yet, but accountability matters.
Andrew, I just want to drive that one home for everybody. The activity is your goal. 50 closed homes is not your goal. The activity to get to 50 homes is your goal. So when you're thinking about 2024, you know, and if you sit down over the next couple of weeks and make a goal, make sure that the plan and the actions are the important part and the focus. Saying I want to close 50 homes in 2024 is absolutely meaningless unless you make the activity the goal. So I just want to make sure we put that home.
Yeah, going back to the NFL team, the coach wants to have a flawless season. But if he doesn't have a plan of action of how he's going to get there, it's not going to happen. Like you can't just say, I'm going to close 50 homes. No, let's dial back onto what metrics I have to hit at the very baseline to get there. And it really comes down to accountability. And I would challenge everyone. Here's the mindset to have on this. The next lead you get, like really, like Matt was talking about, that $1,200, that lead you've got, that the guy's looking for the duplex in San Francisco. I hear it all the time. I wrote that guy's phone number down, but I can't remember where I put it. I would challenge you to pull $1,200 out of your wallet and write the name and phone number down on it and see how quickly you lose it. Because that is the value of that Post-it note. That is the value of, oh, I totally forgot to call the guy. Write the name and phone number down on $1,200. I guarantee you don't lose it. You know, I love traveling and going to events, and I went to this mastermind. I'm not typically a fan of masterminds because it's a bunch of hoorah and I don't like to get it. I'm just not that guy, but I went to this mastermind and I'm so happy I did, because after a full day of speaker after speaker after speaker, the final guy that got up and spoke said something to me that truly changed my life. And this was about 1.5 years ago. I was very, very out of shape. I was very unhealthy. I didn't like the habits I had formed and the people I had surrounded myself with. And he stood up on the stage and he said, if you will not hold yourself accountable to yourself, how do you hold anybody else accountable? He said, if you won't show up for yourself, how do you expect others to show up for you? And I think about that every single day of my life. What commitments have we made? Did I make? And I'm not preaching this to you. I'm preaching it to me. Is what commitments have I made? Did I say I'm going to get up at 6 o'clock this morning and I'm going to go for a run, but I slept until 7? But then I expect my teammates to show up on time, and I expect that real estate agent to be available when I call, and I expect this person to be prompt with this. How do we expect others to show up if we don't show up for ourselves? And to me, that's a huge question that I ask myself every day, and I would challenge everyone to ask it of yourself. Are you showing up for yourself? You set the goal, you set the vision, you dialed the numbers in of the metrics you need to hit. Are you showing up for yourself to actually take the measures necessary to do it? And really, you got to be honest with yourself. Do you deserve to hit the goals you've set by the actions you're doing? And that's a big, deep question that you got to ask yourself. Do I deserve to hit the goal I set based upon the actions I'm doing? Because we know that, as I said before, the outcome of something, whether you hit your goal or not, is simply the accumulation of actions or inactions. That's all it is. And so you got to be honest with yourself. Am I actually going to do the actions necessary to hit the goal? Matt, what's your thoughts?
I mean, I think you summed it up great, and I think that that's a great place to end it for people. Is put some thought into, you know, what you want to achieve in 2024, and then whether or not you're willing to put in the work to achieve it. Because ultimately, it's up to you. Ultimately, we're all in control, and that's what we talk about with dependent events. If you put in the work, if you take the action, the result will follow. You can't
100%.
hope and wish that a result shows up on your doorstep 12 months from now. So I thoroughly enjoyed this, man. If there's questions, I'd love people to fire away in the questions. We can answer any and all of these. I know that we've got the ability to share slides if somebody wants to see the sales math. You mentioned it, Andrew. Reach out to you if anybody wants questions after we're off, and
Yeah.
find me, find Andrew. We're not hard to find when it comes to.
We'll have a recording of this that we can share a link to if you want to go back through it. We'll move on to questions. I don't have any questions, so ultimately, there's no questions that have been asked. So really, to me, it's a big thank you. Thank you for taking an hour out of your day. To me, to see the attendance number on this call not drop until the last 3 minutes is pretty amazing. That's a dedicated group of people that are taking an hour out of their day on December 19th, when most people are checked out for the year. Most people are doing something else. You took an hour out of your day to truly try and get better for 2024. So mega kudos to you. Thank you for joining us. Matt, you have any final parting thoughts?
Thanks, brother. Go out there and crush 2024. We're going to have more transactions. We're going to have less people in the business. It's a ripe season for accomplishing all your goals and all your dreams. So get after it.
All right. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much for joining.